Here we are then, another week's done in the world of Rugby League, and still we know nothing of what is going to happen. This is the Forty20 Monday morning wrap-up podcast. A very good morning, stroke afternoon, stroke evening to you, whenever you are listening. Checking in first on League One. Work backwards, I think. League One on Saturday. Doncaster 18, Newcastle 19, West Wales 10, Hunslet 72. Keighley, big win for them. They go on to 1 point as they beat the London Scholars 38-26 on Sunday. Two close games in Cumbria, Workington 16, Oldham 26, and Whitehaven on the end of a reverse at home to the North Wales Crusaders 24 points to 22. Whitehaven remain top of the table. They are just 1 point above both Hunslet and Oldham. And then come Newcastle and the London Scholars on 15, Doncaster and Workington on 12, Crusaders on 8, Coventry on 6, Keighley on 1, and West Wales on 0. Into the Championship, where, there's the biggest result of the weekend, you have to say, came at the LD Nutrition Stadium, where Featherstone, who've been on a great run of form, was it 6 wins in a row? Well, that all came to a crashing halt against Barrow, who won away from home by 38 points to 16. 16 to up at half-time, didn't let up in the second half, and went on to victory. It finished Bradford 24, Halifax 20. Bradford were 20 points to 8 up at half-time in that one, so did enough in the first half. Dewsbury 0, Lee 40, Swinton 12, York 26. And in the games across the earlier part of the weekend, on Friday night, Sheffield beat Rochdale 46-26. Widnes beat Batley 28-22 in another close one. And Toronto went to 17-1, beating Toulouse by 28 points to 16. Toronto still top, 10 points clear on 34. Then come Toulouse, Lee and York all on 24 points. Featherstone and Sheffield on 22. Bradford back up to 20 points, or up to 20 points rather. Halifax, 4 defeats in a row now for them. They're on 16, so a gap developing there. Batley on 12, Widnes and Swinton on 10. Dewsbury and Barrow on 9, and Rochdale on 2 points at the bottom of the table. Let's jump in to Super League and look at Saturday's action, where the Catalan Dragons were battered by Hull FC 50 points to 10. Here's the coach of the Dragons, Steve McNamara.
Really angry. I thought we got off to a fantastic start. I thought we showed some real intent at the start, but some of the things went against us. We stopped. We stopped, and it's more than disappointing to see that. It's not good enough for our club. Not right now. We just. I thought we looked a really good team early on. I thought we looked connected in attack and defence. I think when Meade lost the ball over the try line, sort of probably affected us more than the 4 points that it cost us. It probably affected us more mentally. And then from that point in, we were still in the game. We're still in the contest, and we let 2 tries in just before half time, and then we don't see the ball in the second half. It's just. We go from a team what looked connected and strong early to one what was the complete opposite. And it's mental. It's not physical, it's mental for us.
On a Friday, Salford beat Castleford 26-16. And it was Huddersfield 22, Wigan 38. Another defeat for the Giants. They're getting dragged into the relegation dogfight. Here's their coach, Simon Wolford.
First half, we conceded a couple of tries on last play. As I just said to the guys, I thought in the first half our confidence levels weren't good enough, but in the second half we're talking about character, and that's the issue. I think they scored 4 tries off last play. All right, so we did a reasonable job. Plays 1 to 5, and then we gift them 3 or 4 tries on last play, and when our team's playing really well, our goal line D's. A real feature of our game, and tonight we just conceded far too many tries that they didn't really have to work for. There was parts of our D that were good, but at a game, our goal line D is normally a strength of ours, and tonight it was appalling, and unfortunately, at the moment we just don't have enough players in our 17 that can get the job done. That's the reality of it. That's where we're at the moment. We can't build pressure for long periods, can't defend our try line long periods, and a lot of it just comes down to individual accountability, and that's where we're at the moment.
It was at Warrington 30, Wakefield 6, 5 defeats in a row now in Super League for Wakefield, and they play Huddersfield this week. On Thursday, of course, London beat Hull KR 26-24, so Leeds knew if they lost by 70 points at St Helens, they'd be bottom of the table. They didn't, but they did lose. St Helens 36, Leeds 10. We'll hear from Richard Agar in a moment, but first, here's the Saints coach, Justin Holbrook.
We played our best tonight, not taking anything away from Leeds, but yeah, we haven't played as well as we have, but I guess the good sign is we come away with a good win, and that's the main thing. Well, last year we had that international week, and everyone had a week off there, and this year we don't have that, so we've got to find ways of making that happen. Last year we could work towards that, but this year we haven't got that luxury, so now I'm probably relying on a lot more of the squad more often, as I said, so it's working well.
Obviously Tommy's tried right on half time, gives you quite a big bit of breathing space. What was the message at half time, trying to obviously put them to the sword and build on it?
Yeah, well, I think just prior to Tommy's, we saw how dangerous Leeds were, and that 10-minute period before the last couple of minutes before half time, that they looked really dangerous, and we sort of got through that tough period, which is important to do, especially against Leeds. And for Tommy Matt to finish that try is best ever at finishing, so good to watch. That was really important, but then we knew what Leeds could be capable of in the second half, and we made a lot of uncharacteristic errors and made it hard for ourselves, but we finished the game well, which was good. I think last week, just before half-time, just before full-time, we made a few errors, but at least tonight we finished both halves well, and that's important because we obviously did lots in between, not great, but against a dangerous attacking side that Leeds are with so many dangerous players, and really happy to get the win we did.
Does Tommy still spend time practicing those, or is it second nature to him?
We do practice that more in pre-season, to be honest, and he's getting enough practice in games, and he's doing it, does it so well, and phenomenal athlete, that's for sure. Great finisher.
Aaron Smith's stepping up, isn't he, filling in the role of James Rugby. Are you impressed with his performances?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, when you at the start of this year we could call upon us whenever needed, and he's done it a number of times now and done a great job. So we obviously would much rather have our captain on the field, James Roby, but if not, we've got all the confidence that Az can step in and do the job that he has done for us every week.
Everyone's talking about the bottom, Justin, but you've got a big game next week now against Warrington. Going there, I guess it's a good marker where you're at. Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, I think it'll be a great game next week. Obviously, first, second, and they're a great side. We know that, so it'll be a cracking game, that's for sure.
You got a relegation in the NRL. What do you make of it? Can you understand the pressures on some of those teams down at the bottom, like Leeds?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Look, I think it is good because it is exciting. I think you'll find over the next 10 rounds that those bottom sides are going to be harder or just as hard as anyone near the top for that reason. So there'll be plenty of those sides. We saw a cracking game last night, and I think we'll see lots more of that over the last 10 rounds due to what's at stake, that's for sure.
It were a horror start. Obviously, Jack got the ball, difficult ball to take with the Sun Pete, I think, and I just thought we had a really poor reaction for the next 15-20 minutes really. And we did speak at half time that this could go either way. This is a game could go either way, and we wanted to talk about the feeling, how we wanted to feel after the game. We actually thought 24-10, going into the last 15-20 minutes, we'd sort of started to fight our way back into the game. Our skill, our execution, the errors, we're always going to make it difficult for us to come back with the probably 26-28 points we would have needed to win the game. But we did show a good response, a much better response second half. I will say it's the toughest challenge in the game at the moment. I think from what I've seen, there's a couple of the other top teams have not played yet, but this is the toughest challenge in the comp at the moment, playing Saints away. They were just playing on a different speed and power to us, for the biggest part of that first half. But yeah, we did defend under pressure pretty well at times, and disappointing to me really that we let the couple of soft ones in at the end and try a short kick off when we're down at 12 men and put us back on his try line. I just didn't think that were really smart, and probably took a little bit of pride in our second half defensive performance away from us.
What's the mood like in camp, Rich?
Yeah, pretty good.
Confidence still?
Yeah, pretty good. There's no doubt the start of the game tonight probably left us looking a little bit shell shocked. I think at times we talked about, before we talked about diving in head first, but we most definitely dipped our toe in the pond, didn't we, in them first sort of 15-20 minutes. But now the mood is a very determined one. Very determined one.
Is the pressure of relegation sort of affecting the players at all, or have they sort of managed to put that?
I think that's up. We're not really speaking about it. Probably the first time we've mentioned the word relegation. We're in there, but we're sort of determined that we think we control where we finish this year. We're still of the mindset that it's around a third of the season left to play. We'll be the ones that control where we finish. There's a lot of the teams in the sort of bottom 5 or 6 all play each other. So 10 rounds to go. I think you'll probably find that there's many teams going to take points off each other yet and twist and turns. And that's what I'm saying. We feel we'll absolutely control how we're judged on this year. And if it is us, then we probably deserve it too. I think that goes without saying. If we can't control our finish ourselves this year, then we'll deserve everything we get. But that's definitely not the mindset and the mood of the players.
Can we expect any new signings at least before the end of the season, Richard?
You'll appreciate that. As interim coach, that's not something I get overly involved with. I get kept abreast of a lot of movements, and as is always the case with recruitment, whether it's this situation or 24/7 all year round, really, there's always sort of plate spinning. I think the club, obviously, we're going to be losing Callum Watkins, so you'd think that would open up a little bit of space in the salary cap, but I think for us to bring someone in, it's got to be someone in the right position that is going to improve our team. Skill and execution errors at times. I think the boys are talking about in there, and it's a bit of a broken record really. Errors have hurt this team all year. I think we're probably, if you look at the stats for the errors in the competition, and probably that's just killing us at the moment. Is the errors coming out of his own end, but again, in that field position we came up with some really early in the count, and when you play a team like this, you've got to make the most of that possession down there. Same again last week. Again, Wigan probably had enough possession on their line to win games. So at the same time, we are talking about there's 10 games to go and we'll decide. We're absolutely not being blasé about it, thinking we'll be all right. There's certainly not a we'll be all right attitude. It's about hard work, and it's about making sure that we're a lot better in some of these areas that are, quite frankly, they're killing us at the moment.
More on that game to come in a moment. Finally, it was the quarter-final stage of the Women's Challenge Cup this weekend. Comfortable wins for Leeds, 74-0 over Warrington. And St Helens, big win for them over Wigan Warriors. Wakefield edged past Keighley Albion 26 points to 24 thanks to the boot of Lisa Taylor. And there was a crowd of 1,492 at the Menderhose Jungle to see Castleford go past Bradford into the semi-final. Semi-final draws been made already, and it will be St Helens versus Leeds and Wakefield versus Castleford. Those games played on the 7th of July, and of course the final to come at the University of Bolton Stadium. We're back tonight, 6 p.m, looking back on the world of Rugby League. If you're listening to this after Monday, download the other podcast as well. And as a bonus, here's our reaction live after the game. We were live on Facebook from the Totally Wicked Stadium after Saints beat Leeds, and I was joined by Johnny Davidson from the League Weekly newspaper and Gary Schofield. Well, you know who he is. St Helens 36, Leeds 10. Well, that's the final score, wasn't it?
It was.
Richard Shorrock, John Davison, Gary Schofield, Rugby League Hall of Famer, broadcasting legend. And what do we say about that one? St Helens comfortable?
Bit of an odd game. I mean, it was sort of game over after 3 minutes, 12-0 up. Disastrous start for Leeds, exactly what they didn't need, and then St Helens clocked off, and they were actually quite, by their standards, they were quite average.
Yeah, they were, and you don't expect them sort of mistakes here because they're always normally clinical and very polished out there when they're in the attack from there. But yeah, maybe the start, just from a point of view, the enthusiasm lacked from there, and they just felt as though they could turn the tap on and turn it off, and Leeds hung in there, and at times he showed that little bit of character from Leeds, but again, certainly in that first half and over the full 80 minutes, they're just lacking that organisation leadership.
Jack Walker, fit, not fit?
He didn't look too bad, did he, to be honest? He came with some big calls, certainly behind the post from there, in the second half from there, so maybe not 100% fit, but certainly but a couple of 2 or 3 crucial roles by stopping St Helens tries.
So we only remember the poor. We only focus on the negative.
The Sun was, in fairness to him, the Sun was terrible at that, but I mean, just that start, it's just the same old script really for Leeds. The kicking game was awful, for the vast majority of the game.
You see, also, the big problem for Leeds. There's a couple of big problems from a point of view where there's no organisation.
No.
There's nothing coming from the half-backs whatsoever.
It's not really any attack.
And also as well, the two things is the kicking game is not varied. It's always the same. And then ball in hand, they're absolutely clueless. And then thirdly, when they are shifting the ball, it's too slow. It's too slow. So by the time Conrad Hero gets it, and also to you, Harry Newman, the defence is on top of them. So there's no leadership, there's no shape, and there's no variation.
Plenty of criticism here for St Helens. Kev says he's gutted he missed Love Island for this. He says Saints were dreadful, to be honest, but Leeds are even worse, thankfully. Tim says Saints had a poor game by their standards.
Yep.
Should have scored at least 50, which that middle point of the second half, and I was desperately trying to think something to talk about on TalkSport and was doing the updates, go ahead and do the whole game on TalkSport too. They just seem to be playing, I just thought it a bit like Muhammad Ali, the rope up, letting Leeds come at them because they knew there was nothing coming at them, and Saints just
they tried to force too many passes, and they just got sloppy. I mean, I think they knew they were cruising, they were comfortable, and
but also as well in St Helens' attack at times I've not seen the forwards get to first and second man and tackling the ball handlers. It's normally 3 or 5 nice and wide. Lomax a lot wider from there, and that's where all the creativity comes from. So a little bit different attack from Saints tonight. Maybe that's something they're experimenting with. But that experiment didn't pay off tonight. No way made, and a bit of indiscipline. I think kind of give 3 or 4 penalties away from there, and some soft penalties. Bit of indiscipline, but from a positive side from St Helens, I would imagine Justin Holbrook overall for the full 80 minutes of the team performance out of 10, I'd say maybe 5.
Yeah.
But it's still not a bad sign where you play nowhere near and you get 36 points. So it's still not bad, is it?
It's a funny thing when you win by 26 points, you're never really in danger of losing the game, and you play fairly poorly.
Exactly.
That shows how far they are ahead of everyone else.
Absolutely, and certainly so with this lead side from there. So yeah, Holbrook a little bit disappointed. I guess at times it's all about attitude, and I mentioned it quite a lot, from where you turn the tap on and turn it off, and then, because they knew they were always in control. But that start one they had, they was always in control. But from a coach's point of view, not happy. But 5 out of 10, and still won in a counter.
Yeah, I think the only worrying thing probably for St Helens is the injury to Zeb Tyre. Looks like he dislocated his shoulder, so he might be out for a few weeks. But again, St Helens they just keep picking up wins, and next week. Massive game against Warrington. That will be the real test for them.
It will be a test for them as well. And but still, all right. If they lose that one or whatever from there, it's not really a disaster. From their point of view, there's still 10 games to go. They're just 4 points clear from there. But they want to test themselves because we all know what happened last year from there. But do you know what, fellas? Do you know what? 10 games to go. 10 games to go. And I'm going to say it just in as I said to him. Do you know what? This is St Helens year. Never mind Warrington.
For the treble.
This is correct. Correct, Mr. Davis.
You said that last year.
Correct, Mr. Davis. I'm telling you now, St Helens can turn it on and turn it off, but when they turn it on, they are easily the best side in Super League. The treble's on. I'm not saying they're going to do it. The treble's on for St Helens.
But more importantly, for your team Leeds is relegation on, because Richard Agar was was quite blunt in saying that they haven't talked about relegation, but he also said quite revealingly that there's 10 games left. You know, it's in their hands, and if they can't avoid the drop at this point, it's their own fault. They deserve to be relegated.
Well, the big situation now for these players is simple, John. It's how do they handle the pressure? How do they handle this pressure? Because everything now will be talk of relegation.
Yeah.
And as we all know, the signs of Leeds Rugby League Club, we know the 45 million just spent on the new standard value. But I'll tell you what, one thing for sure here now, if Leeds do get relegated, which is a very, very strong possibility, massive possibility that they can get relegated, this will be like the Titanic. That will be like the Titanic when that went down back in 1912. That will be huge, absolutely huge to the game. And I'll tell you, it is a strong possibility.
If any of our listeners or viewers even were on the telly, can mock up a picture. You know that picture of Kate Winslet and Leonardo DiCaprio,
Yes.
but only Kevin Sinfield and Gary Headley.
Or
That'd be
Richard.
perfect. Or
Richard Agar, sorry. But I think, you know, whether they buy Jackson Hastings or not, they need half a dozen new players. That one player,
Hey, John,
a halfback can't
John,
save.
they're not going to get Jackson Hastings for next week. They're not going to get him for the CAS game.
That are the rumours.
They're not going to get him for the UKR game. They've got what they've got. They've got what they've got, but unfortunately, I tell you, some of these players are not good enough. They're not good enough to play for Leeds, but then most importantly, how are these players going to handle this pressure? I don't think they can.
It's all Brian McDermott's fault, isn't it?
Not really.
He's been painted. No, by certain people, you know, at the club, he's been painted as the, you know, the man.
Hey, listen. We all know what happened in 15, and we all know what happened in 17. So, you know, this was going to happen because the planning wasn't started in 13 and 14. But also as well, some players who they thought was going to move up to the next level, quite simply haven't.
Yeah.
Tom's happy. He says, thanks, Scully, you've jinxed St Helens, which means Hull win the cup. Could be Halifax. Could be Halifax, Tom. Just imagine that. Other results today, by the way. Wigan, who Alex says could win the grand final from 5th, and now I'm starting to believe in this. Wigan win away at Huddersfield 38-22. Salford beat Cass 26-16. Cass in crisis. Also in crisis, my boys Wakefield lost 30 points to 6 at Warrington, though they did lead in that game. That's one tiny positive. That's 5 in a row now for Wakefield. Cass are obviously on a poor run as well.
Huddersfield, nearly 3-4.
You almost look at London and Hull came on, but more London. They knew they were going to be in this position from day one. They knew what was going to happen to them.
There's no
this season.
pressure on them. They're expected
Everyone
to go
else
down.
is getting dragged into this mess. With thoughts of finishing the top 5 and higher.
Do you know what? Do you know what as well? The great fact, you know, we wanted this in Super League for many years, haven't we? Where every game, you know, has a purpose.
Every minute matters.
Well, forget about that stupid slogan, to be honest with you. But now, you know, I say it's at the top of 1 and 2 from there. So they're in there, Catalans and Hull. But when we're looking now about every game has a purpose. It all has a purpose because we know the bottom three is London are on the road. 3-4 for Huddersfield, Wakefield 3-4, Casford 3-4. Leeds need to climb a mountain, Hull need to do that. So there's going to be a purpose on every fixture. Tell you what, that's what we wanted. This is what we wanted, and next 10 weeks, it is all about pressure, and who can handle that pressure. Who is going to enjoy handling that pressure?
I didn't like Justin Holbrook saying he's a big fan of relegation because he knows he's got no chance of being involved in it this season. But one team we say is going to disappear from Super League. We don't know. They could expand Super League to 28 clubs or something like they did in Argentina in the football. They just put all the teams in one massive division just to annoy everyone. Maybe they could do that. You know, get on to Robert Elson. Get that pie, divide it up 400 ways. Get all the money going to Coventry. Brendan says Leeds have always had great halfbacks over the years. These two that play together are dreadful. Bring some youngsters in.
I don't think it's fair to throw a youngster in at the moment with the, as you mentioned, the pressure. I mean, if you're an 18, 19-year-old kid and you've got to be the saviour of, you know, a massive club from going down, that's not really a fair chance in Super League. But they do definitely need some new halves. I mean, I think every week you can look at what they create.
John, where they're going to get them from?
Callum Watkins is going. He's a big earner. Yeah. And I think, you know, they're trying to get rid of Matt Parcell, so they'll free up a fair bit of Southern Cup and a visa spot.
Right, but where is it's not just about the money, John. It's quite simple. Where's the quality? Where is the quality? Where are they going to get it from? Where is it?
I think at this point, there's almost anyone they bring in is going to be better than what they have.
Oh, I agree. I agree with that. But where is it? Where is he?
Well, you know, whether it's in Super League or the NRL or, you know, even the Queensland Cup, you know, there are players who'll come.
Don't say Scott Morrell again. Can Ashton Golden play 6 or 7?
What's from Scott Morrell?
No, I'm saying that's your sting at the moment. What's Ashton Golden who plays at Fairfield?
He played last year for Leeds at 6. He was absolutely atrocious. So
well, here's the thing then. Here's a question, because we're talking about Leeds' recruitment. They signed Jack Walker on this long contract after just signing Ashton Golden on a long contract. If they knew Jack Walker was going to be done, which they would have known because he was in the system, why did they sign Ashton Golden on a long contract when all he's doing now is rotting at Fair?
Correct.
And why did they sign Tui Loda here, who is essentially a fullback?
Tonga's
who can play
number 7.
Tonga has a lot of prop forwards and back rowers, but they don't have a lot of halfbacks.
If Big Dave's foot had been all right, he might have played 6 tomorrow.
Hey, listen, fellas, it's quite simple here. If Leeds don't get any quality in, it's simple. Again.
Don't make me laugh. It's supposed to be an impartial broadcast. You're making me laugh.
What do you mean impartial? I'm only being honest and truthful here.
I mean me. I'm supposed to say serious about it. Kev, a fan of young James Bentley, came on, scored the final try of the game. Much easier to blood youngsters, as you say, in a team that's winning, as Saints able to do.
That's what's something that's been really impressive for St Helens is the Ashworths and the Lees, these young forwards that are bringing through.
Absolutely.
They're not just relying on Thompson. They've got a whole team and a squad working.
Correct from there, but also too, just going back to my club in Leeds as well. And I said it when David Furner was in charge, and I said the hierarchy at Leeds, they've got to smell the coffee. They've got to start smelling the coffee, and that was 6-7 weeks ago. Now, I think they're starting to realise, tell you what, that coffee is brewing. That coffee is made, because quite simple.
Coffee needs to be thrown out.
We are in the mind. And now, you know, there's talk about, you know, going out for half-backs and all this sort of thing. Why didn't they realise that 7 or 8 weeks ago? Why didn't they realise that? Everybody can see it. Everybody can see it, and I just don't get it. I don't get it, because when you look at the quality of people at Edinburgh, i.e. from the top, Gary Emington, Kevin Sinfield, they say Richie Agar's a smart fella, we've got Chev Walker there, we've got Robbie Burrow there. Surely they just said, listen, these guys aren't good enough, we need to sort this out pretty quickly. Why is it taking now another 6 or 7 weeks?
I think, Gary, as you mentioned before, it's gone back several years. You look at some of the decisions, the signing of Luke Briscoe, someone who does look out of his depth in that position, and then handing new contracts to Jamie Jones Buchanan, Ablett. You wonder why these decisions are coming back to haunt the club.
Yeah, exactly, and also as well, my club, which it is my club, Leeds, right? And why are we giving trialists a trial? And Wellington Albert was quite simply not good enough. We give him a trial, and then we sign him to the end of the season. And I've said before, and I'm not apologising for what I say, because Leeds Rugby League Club is my club. I don't want to see Leeds Rugby League Club getting relegated. I don't want to see anywhere near the performances what they are putting. But if you're telling me that people or players like Wellington Albert are good enough for Leeds, well, I'm afraid to say I'll stop watching the game.
Neil and a couple of other people said this on Facebook. Leeds' only tactic, get the ball to hurl. Problem is, the other 11 teams in Super League.
I'd say they have two. It's get the ball to Hurrell and Brad Dwyer running from dummy half, which can be effective, but is it going to win you a game?
Yeah, but also
week?
as well, Conrad Hill. How many basic mistakes did he make tonight?
Yeah, there was.
I think in the first half there was 3. I think two of them nearly, one of them cost him a try from there. So loads of basic mistakes from Conrad Hill. So he's not the answer.
Joe says you need to get your boots back on and get Cliff Lyons back too. Stuart Cut says Schofield's a legend, Wigan fan. So there you go. Some Wigan fans like it.
Right.
And they're happy today because they've obviously won at Huddersfield. Neil says, what's happened to the youth setup? Not much coming through. Leeds, and I've compared them to this before, they are Manchester United after Fergie, and they're going through all this process of bringing in all these ex-players and giving them jobs. And Alex Ferguson was one of the greatest football managers of all time, but he was also lucky that he had a great crop of youngsters come through him once, and then another one come through to top them up later on. And the subsequent managers at Manchester United have not got that, as we've seen, and other teams are able to outspend them. And it's the same for Leeds now, because Warrington are going out and spending lots of money. Saints have brought in better players. Leeds are in transition, they are in crisis, but here's the concern. They've only spoken about relegation, according to Richard Agar, today, tonight, after this game, should they have already been thinking about that already?
Well, I just said it a couple of minutes ago. They should have smelt the coffee 6 or 7 weeks from there. And do you know what? You say it. Our great man Mark Wilson says it. Our great man Mark Wilson says it as well. And we laugh about it. And we laugh about it. And we try to sell T-shirts about it. But let me just tell you here now. The Leeds in crisis is a fact. The Leeds getting relegated can happen. Will it happen? Well, one thing for sure here now. If they don't improve the players, quality of players over the next week or two, Titanic and Rugby League will happen. Leeds will get relegated.
I think they're going to kick us out of the stadium in a minute, so we'll say goodbye to you. John, any juicy stories in the League Weekly on Monday?
There is a few. Yeah, there is a few. There's a bit of transfer movement at London. Also, it's at Hull KR. And here we go.
We're still
it's going to be fun. And I can't remember. Maybe a bit of news on St Helens as well.
So buy the papers on Monday. We'll be back Monday 6 until 8, talking all things Rugby League. And again, saying that Leeds, of course,
Richie, don't forget, get the League Express. Best column in League Express.
The letters page. This reminds me, I need to write a letter.
The worst column.
Enjoy the rest of the Rugby League weekend. Enjoy the Women's Challenge Cup quarter-final. Should be a belter here on Sunday. If you can get here, St Helens versus Wigan should be an absolute cracker.
Go the Blues.